Ladies and gentlemen and in-betweeners, I'm your host, Alexander Rodriguez, here for On the Rocks radio show, where celebrities and cocktails mix tonight. It's the Magic Mike of Hollywood. We have our manly men from entertainment, with over 80 film appearances, including Karate Kid, Rambo 2, Wyatt Earp, and of course, Cobra Kai. We have Martin Kove here is in the house. We also have creator of the Mortified universe, including stage show, Netflix show, and podcast. David Nadelberg is here with my guest co-host, actor and BMX pro Kurt Yeager from NCIS LA, Sons of Anarchy, and Personal Space. Woo! Let the games begin.
Thank you for being
Boulevard.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, coming at you from Sunset Gower Studios in the heart of Hollywood, where I drink with your favorite celebrities and we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and that's about it. So pop a cork, pour a glass, lean back, and enjoy On the Rocks every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on Universal Broadcasting Network.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Oh, Lord have mercy. It is going to be a bumpy night. We have a little bit of everything. And I have to say, we're ending Pride Month. I'm the only gay person in this room. Happy Pride, everybody. My white friend says, this is so spicy, right? First of all, this is water. I ran into like a mild salsa bar this weekend. Why make mild salsa? What is the point of salsa?
It's for people like me.
It's an insult to my people. But the salsa is supposed to be spicy.
Yeah, except what like mild sauce at Taco Bell is spicy enough to me.
But then why bother?
Because it has a little bit of tingle.
Are you? You can get a medication for that. Are you the kind of guy that walks into Baskin Robbins and gets French vanilla?
No.
Just vanilla.
Just vanilla.
Oh, God. Thank you to our sober listeners for listening in. We love you, and thank you for holding our hair back, and thank you for driving us home. If drunk texting was a sport, I'd be an Olympian, or I'd be a sensei. Oh, you see what I did there? Yes. All right, let's give a shout-out to our presenting sponsor. Kurt, take it away.
I know a place not too sweet.
It's like a live read. We're going to do this.
Food and rides can't be beat. Eating all the goodies is your favorite bit.
No wonder you rode a bike here. I mean, Sons of Anarchy. Yeah. Can't get rid of it, right?
Today's show is brought to you by San Diego County Fair. Celebrate Pride Month at the fair. Enjoy unique food, rides, entertainment, exhibits, shopping, and fun for the entire family. Visit SanDiegoFair.com. Yes! That was like right on it. Boom. Thank you, Vons. Because they send you like that clip and you have to like fit it in right then. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I was really upset with Vons though because they stopped the Monopoly game. And I was so close. I was so close to winning the millions.
Kurt, that's a racket. Nobody, like, when
I was
McDonald's
close.
does a
I had one left.
They have the winning piece, like, in New York, and you're in California. Isn't that how they do that?
No.
Yeah, in Alaska or New Zealand.
There's no way, unless you were, like, a world traveler, that you're going to win Monopoly.
I was close.
Wait. I thought McDonald's had a monopoly on the Monopoly game.
Yeah.
They did, and they do, but Vons has it, like, the other 6 months of the year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Who
But
owns
they
the
don't
Monopoly
even
game?
match.
Who has the Hungry
Milton Bradley?
Hippos game?
Isn't that Milton Bradley as well?
There needs to be
That's
retail.
my apartment on a Wednesday night is the Hungry Hippo game, I'll tell you that much. Oh, Lord. We have such a full show today. Hello to our listeners around the nation on iHeartRadio, Universal Broadcasting Network, Player FM, Stitcher, TuneIn, Satchel, iTunes, Google Play, and of course we are on Facebook Live right now on Hillcrest Social in San Diego, True FM in Ohio, and nationally on Bear World Magazine. Roar! Check out my weekly interviews, movie news, and reviews in Bear World Magazine. This week, big news for cult film lovers, and I love it. Jim Henson's The Witches is getting a reboot. Robert Zemeckis is coming out of the mothballs to direct it, and Guillermo del Toro is producing.
Wow.
I couldn't be happier. I hope Angelica Houston is in it somewhere. Does anybody remember The Witches?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a good, but it was ahead of its time. It was dark, and it was against children, and I can't stand children, so I loved it. Also this week, Rotten Tomatoes had to verify their 0% rating for Gotti. So they had to prove that, yes, 0% for Gotti.
Wow.
And John Travolta said that he had hoped it was going to be an Oscar nod for Gotti.
Wow.
He had also hoped that Masseuse wasn't going to say anything, but he did. We know how I ended that up. Sorry, Gotti. Did anybody here see Gotti?
I didn't see it. I've heard that it was horrible, but that at least John was
0%?
good in it. And he was like that's what I heard. They were like, at least he was decent, but it was so bad around him that they couldn't do anything with it.
When that much effort's put into something...
Well, sometimes groupthink is bad.
Yes.
You know, you have to have
Yeah.
a vision and go for it instead of just kind of...
Or sometimes it wins, like YouTube Red being resurrected by Cobra Kai. Thank you very
Yeah.
much, Cobra Kai.
No, that's group want, not group think. They wanted it. They
Right,
wanted it.
with
They
the
wanted
research
fans,
and everything.
yeah.
Well, we're
then those
definitely going
guys
to talk
did
about
it.
that because it's back for season 2. And our friend, Mr. Can I call you Marty? Every time I want to say Martin Cove, I want to say Marty. Or do I have to like earn that first?
You have to earn it.
Okay.
But
Yes, then say it. Show no mercy.
Yeah,
Mr. Cove.
every time you say hit him, I get to
Yes.
hit him.
With purpose, though. Show no mercy.
I will show
Sweep the
you
leg.
no
Woo.
mercy.
Okay. For our audio listeners, you can check out our video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and of course on the Hillcrest social app. You can stream all of our video there for free. My mom, Mama Rose, is in the chat room on Facebook Live. Ask her your question. She might ask it. She's done her own research and she has a crush on every one of you. I have to tell you that much. Please keep her busy. She's next to a bottle of vodka, and I don't need her drunk tweeting because I don't need a show cancellation. Hello to our engineer, Kurt. Kurt, do you have a pun? Number one, how excited are you that we
Very excited,
Yes.
actually. This is
the
nice.
straightest show we've ever had?
The night is young.
Yeah, that's true. Vodka's flowing. I'd be mortified. Oh, okay, Kurt.
You want the pun? I'm assuming because
If we must,
basically
that's how we start our show. Go ahead.
You know, the urge to sing "The Lion Sleeps Tonight" is just a whim away.
Oh.
God. No, do not give you the laughter. Yes. That was bad, Kurt. That was really bad.
They're all really bad.
Yeah, but that was like worse than most. Like that hurt my feelings.
I'm sorry.
Oh Lord, like us on Twitter and Instagram at On The Rocks On Air, Facebook On The Rocks Radio Show, subscribe to us on YouTube, find us on the web ontherocksradioshow.com. You can literally watch and listen to every show on ontherocksradioshow.com, but I like to announce all the syndicates so you know I'm famous. Book me for a wedding, funeral, quinceanera, bris. I don't care. I will show up. Info at ontherocksradioshow.com. I officiated a wedding, by the way.
How'd that go?
It went very well.
Did they run away? Like, did they break up?
Do you know I don't? I'm going to put myself out of a job. I actually have a really bad track record for marrying couples. I can officiate the divorce though, make it really funny.
All in one place.
Yeah, and you know, Kurt, if you're getting married anytime soon, I can be the officiant.
You want to do it?
I want to throw the bachelor party though. Can you imagine me throwing your bachelor party?
Yeah, that would be insane.
It would be crazy.
I think I'd get in trouble.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I'd get in trouble too.
I think I wouldn't get married.
Oh. Coming up on the show, we have the reschedule of Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero from The Room / Disaster Artist are coming in. Real Housewife of OC alumni Gretchen Rossi is coming in. Musician Steve Grant is coming. Brian Abasalo, winner of The Bachelorette, for our reality show with some Vanderpump Rules people. I know you fans are out there. And we have American Idol finalist David Hernandez is on the way. So get ready for that. We don't slow down around here. We just get better and better. In case in point, do you mind paying attention to the show?
I'm reading your little thing here.
It says you're in.
It says name Alexander Rodriguez and host Tony Sweet. Is that your look at that. Is that like your other name?
Official. Don't show that because it's secret. It's security. As Mr. Cove knows, security, they don't take lightly around here, right, Mr. Cove?
No, they don't.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right. They carry 50 caliber machine guns.
Well, you know why? Because Shonda Rhimes is here. She's literally upstairs. She's writing her next opus, but they film How to Get Away with Murder here. In fact, they walk right by this window. So Viola Davis is walking around, so that's why security's so tight, but I'm very sorry.
It's all right.
Well, I'm going to have a word with them. Let me introduce my bestie for tonight, Kurt Yeager. Kurt Yeager. Whoa, we haven't even started.
Wow.
Actor, athlete, and advocate. He's widely recognized for his character, Greg the Peg, in Season 5 on hit series Sons of Anarchy, also known for roles in Quarry, Pure Genius, NCIS LA, Shooter, Ryan Felipe, Shameless, and the web series Personal Space. He's a highly respected member of the SAG-AFTRA committee, performers with disabilities, and advocates for the inclusion of actors with disabilities in roles not specified for disabled characters. He speaks with network executives, showrunners, writers, and casting on ways to increase inclusion through understanding and insight into the entertainment industry. So necessary right now. Kurt's also a former professional X Games athlete. Years before losing his leg in a horrible accident, which we've talked about when he's been on the show before, and I get so many emails after you're gone, by the way. Kurt came back, was the first amputee in the X Games, the first and only amputee to successfully pull a backflip, and still rides to this day. In 2016, he ran up the entire Empire State Building, 86 floors, in 20 minutes?
Yeah, 20 minutes and 19 seconds.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. And he did that for the Challenged Athletes Foundation, raising money and awareness for the charity. Motorcycles are Kurt's second passion. And it's so fun to see him riding around. I'm like, hey, Kurt. And I got to wear your helmet, remember?
I
that
did.
became a viral
That was
sensation.
a great photo.
That was fun, yeah.
Yeah.
We hung out with Joanna Cassidy.
I know.
Yeah, she says hello, by the way.
Oh, hello, Joanna.
Hey, girl. I thought there were sparks there, by the way. Yeah, cougar.
She was awesome.
Yeah, she was awesome. Kurt's been the host of BMW GS Trophy Challenge for several years, riding motorcycles off-road in Thailand, Madagascar, the Canadian Rockies, South Africa, Botswana, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Europe, and the United States. He is also a real day Superman, and he'll be embarrassed for me to elaborate, but he was in the front lines in Puerto Rico with his motorcycle group helping victims of the hurricane in places where regular vehicles could not go, and he was literally putting out fires for his neighbors during the terrible fires a few months ago near the Getty Center. Please welcome Kurt Yeager.
Yay! Thank you.
Whew. I need a sip after that bio.
That was really impressive that you know that much about me.
You know, it's funny because every time you're on the show, I get emails from very different groups of people you inspire. Of course, you know, for representing disabled actors and, you know, losing your leg and the horrible accident. We went into detail, I think, last time. Just briefly, let our listeners the horrible accident that happened to you.
Yeah, I was in an accident where I hit a guardrail, a pole, fell off a 40-foot cliff, ripped my leg off, tore my bladder in half, pelvis in half, broke 7 vertebrae, collapsed my lungs, broke all my right ribs, concussion, ACL, MCL, and deep vein thrombosis. I had a hell of a hangnail, too.
And a
I
paper
couldn't eat the
cut.
pudding, you know, like while I was 3 months
What
in
did
the
your insurance
hospital.
company say? They were like, oh, God.
They're like, not again.
Yeah. No, but you literally, in fact, this was recounted in a music video, was your comeback, and you refused to just let that be the end of your career, and you really hit it back, which you've been an inspiration, like I said, for people with disabilities. Yeah. You've also been an inspiration for people in entertainment, which we all know in the entertainment industry. We have our ups, we have our downs, and it's really just keep going, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, you have two choices. Sit in the gutter, complain, or not. And so you just have you reach that point and you decide I'm not gonna just do nothing. So you start rebuilding, you start trying to figure it out, and it's difficult to come to that. But I think honesty with yourself is where you start to gain that like acknowledgement, and then you go, okay, I can't be this way, so let me try and figure it out. So like if in this industry, like if you're banging your head on the wall over and over and over, you're like, okay, let me try it from the window, let me break in from the second story, let me go into the garage, and you start trying to figure out another way in.
Well, it's funny that you say that because we're going to talk about bad guys today and stories from people's past and who makes us who we are.
Yeah.
And changing the story a little bit. You are notoriously playing the bad guys in everything. You've beaten women senseless. You've been the bad guy in espionage, trapping women. I mean, you're just a bad guy.
Yeah.
But you're one of the nicest guys I've ever met in real life.
It's like Bob Ross, because I heard he was like a drill sergeant.
Bob Ross, wasn't he?
Happy Trees.
The painter guy?
Yeah. He was.
Lord. He has a chia after him. You have to be a nice guy if they make a chia after you. Well, no.
The Bob Ross guy who's like the painter of the Happy Trees and does all that. Yeah. So he was like a drill sergeant. He like grew up and did that, and did like
no clue.
It was either Vietnam or Korea, I believe. And so he's that kind of a guy. Like I grew up in a rough neighborhood where it was just a rough place to be. And I had to do things to keep safe. And then once you got out, you're like, I'm going to leave that way behind. And you just flip the switch in your mind, But
known as bad guy, your next project, it's actually comedy.
Yes,
it's the festival.
I know.
What is the festival?
The festival is about two lovers actually that are just graduate university, and this is an English film, so I'm the only American in this English UK film. And they break up the day they graduate, but they're going to this huge music festival that they have very expensive tickets for. So they decide that even though they horrible breakup, they could probably go to this festival and still just be friends. She thinks that, but he wants her back. She meets me. That doesn't work out for him.
You're always taking the girl away from the guy. Like, stop it.
I know.
That's why I like taking you to West Hollywood, because I know you'll leave my friends alone. Like, there's no danger there. Maybe. What was it like switching to comedy, though? Like, does your acting approach have to change?
No, I'm actually much more trained in comedy.
Get out.
Yeah. The drama just comes like natural, because it's like if you just tell me to say something that I mean, if I believe it, I'll say it exactly as I mean it and ruthlessly. But like comedy, like that's what I want to do. Comedy is so much more fun because you don't as Martin, like it's like you get to play and dance and have fun, and like drama is just heavy and you have to always like be in it, and like but like a stupid comedy, I don't know, you just kind of who cares? I did a
no, like
the
in director's list. He's like, who cares? It's my film.
In a good way, who cares? Like you just don't give a shit anymore. Like you can play and like that take didn't work. Who cares? Because you're playing. Because it's called a play. You know what I mean? Like you're literally trying to come up with stuff that's funny. That's why Jim Carrey is all over the place and can't be controlled because it's like dancing, and 50% of what he does that's brilliant still doesn't even make it in.
Yeah, but when he switches to drama, it makes me really uncomfortable, and I see him trying so hard, and it takes all the fun out of it.
That's because you're used to what he looks like.
No, but I see him, it's like, I'm acting now. I'm doing the Truman Show. It's like, stop trying so hard. Just do it.
I don't know. The Majestic, he was pretty good in that. Oh my gosh, what a prude!
But it's fun. But it's funny because Jessica Lange to this day talks about Tootsie. You know, we think of Tootsie as this huge comedy. She said that was one of the roughest films that she's ever done, even in terms of Cape Fear, because comedy was so foreign to her and it was so difficult. She would go home crying because she felt she wasn't doing it right, and she hated doing comedy.
Wow.
Yeah, and she talks about it like it was violent enough for her to question her career, her acting, everything. And of course, we know Jessica Lange can do no wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean that's incredible. I never experienced that with comedy. I think comedy is like, for me, like drama. I love doing it. I love getting into it. You know, like in Quarry, I play a contract killer, extremely dark, 1970s rapist, the whole nine. Like, and I had to like get into it and call like people and find out more about like why a character would be this way and everything else. And it took effort. Where comedy, you just kind of go off the rails and play like Quarry.
Yeah, like it was unrelentless. Like when you didn't think they were going to show it, they showed. In fact, last time you were on, we played that scene, your big violent climax scene. I mean, you had to go there.
Yeah.
So, and Martin, we got this question from a number of your fans. Lately, you've been, and people said, is he softening up? You know, you did the Goldbergs, which was so fun, and it was kind of like a play at yourself. But it seems like, in terms of comedy taking over, you're kind of showing a little bit more ease, a little bit more personality. Do you find, are you actively trying to do that, or has comedy always been something that you've kind of wanted to play with too?
No, I've always wanted to do comedy, and I was able to do comedy. My second series out here was something called We've Got Each Other, and it was very funny. It was just, I was like, Ken of Ken and Barbie.
Yeah.
I was.
You got the looks for it, girl.
I was the pool man, and next door, and it was just kind of a very limited intellectual character, and he was very funny, and it was all like, that kind of look, and it worked out. And it was really fun, and I really enjoyed it. I've just done a play, Beyond Therapy, over at
it's a great play.
Theater West,
yeah, it is
at Playhouse West actually, and it's John Lithgow did it on Broadway, and I played the psychiatrist, and it's very funny. I mean, we had such a good time. But to get back to what you were saying, I think, the audience participation in comedy is what makes it.
Yeah.
And if we're lucky enough to do 3 cameras and have an audience, what works, and it's hard. I think it's really hard, and you have to really relax a lot to play comedy, but it is rewarding because usually someone in the crew will crack up hysterical, and even if you don't have a live audience in front of you, even though people say it's the kiss of death to have the crew crack up and laugh at what you're doing, you're pretty funny if you do something and the crew's laughing hard.
And it's a little like affirmation. It's like, keep going. You're on the right track. Dave, do you feel that when people want to be in a Mortified project, that they want to be funny to make the audience laugh? Because when I watch the Mortified, whether it's the Sundance Channel show or it's the Netflix show or I listen to the podcast, which thanks for the Pride episodes, by the way, so informative even for me. But there's this comedic approach to Mortified, and then you get hit over the head with this poignant story or something that we think is funny, and then the actual message of it is actually quite sad. Do you find people want to just be funny for Mortified?
Well, for our particular show, so our show is where adults get on stage and they read aloud their most embarrassing childhood diaries and love letters, whatever they wrote when they were 12 and thought they were geniuses.
Yeah.
And so because of that, the trappings are, you can't. It's not about are you funny now? Like that's not. We don't really care, and I think our audience doesn't care. It's more, are you accidentally funny when you were 12? Which wasn't funny to you when you were 12, but it is very funny now when you were sharing that and sort of this cathartic thing. But I think, kind of to the point that you guys were just making, like, I actually think comedy breeds insecurity in sort of like, I'm not really a performer. I perform a little bit, but more as a producer, I observe a lot of live comedy, and I think, thank God I'm doing live comedy, because if I was doing drama, like, I would be terrified because I don't know if it's working. Comedy is very binary. The audience is reacting or not. In drama, I guess you could argue, like, well, maybe if you're making the audience cry, but that's only sometimes in drama is that a requirement of what you want the audience to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, even with music, like, you don't have to make them dance to be doing a good job.
Right.
Like, they might still just be enjoying it. Like, if you're Enya, like, how the hell do you know if you're doing a good job? You just, I guess, sense it. Like, what does Brian Eno do? Like, he's just like
Her record sales?
her record sales, right?
When I go to a Kenny G concert and I'm doing this the whole time,
Right.
he knows what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
But that's
thumbs-
very funny because I actually listen to Enya when I write the scripts or the outlines for the show. I'm not like an Enya fan. I don't have a T-shirt. I wouldn't go to a concert, but it's just something about the music that I respect, and it calms me and it puts me in a different mindset. But like, to your point, it's like if I saw her on the street, I'd be like, "Hey, girl," like, but that would be it. It's that
And
connection that we're all looking for, is that affirmation.
yeah, like, how do you guys? So you guys do a bunch of drama. Like, how do you deal with, like, you put it out there and you hope that that's good, and if it's a dramatic thing where, like, the intent is not to make someone laugh, how do you have the confidence to be like, yeah, I did that well? I would be terrified.
It's terrifying, Martin.
Well, I mean, think of Pulp Fiction. Think of some of the most bizarre moments on film that, if dealt with humorously, would not be funny. When Samuel Jackson and John Travolta shoot the guy in the back seat, and they're complaining about, are you telling me I can't drive? Are you telling me I can't pull a trigger? Wait, just because that guy, his brains are all over the... You can't drive, man. And they're averting the problem that the guy's just was killed in the back, a human life. So that kind of humor, is very interesting. And I think you can't play it ever for humor. So you always have to play it straight.
Yeah.
And the funniest stuff is truly played straight.
Charlie Chaplin said that, when they were in his older days, when he was in his 70s, they were asking him, playing the comedy, especially when he was the Tramp. He's like, no, you have to play it like a drama. That was this person's drama, and you give it every dramatic element, and the comedy comes. That's not what you're playing for. You're playing the role for its truth.
When they were making Airplane, I think I read an interview where, like, the creators were talking about how the movie studio at the time was like, put all these, like, funny actors in it from SNL. And they were like, no, we want Robert Stack. We want Gravitas. We want Leslie Nielsen. They're like, Leslie Nielsen? That guy isn't funny. And they're like, that's why
And
we
Peter
want him.
Graves, who's never been funny in his life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, yeah, it's that whole thing of, like, just conviction. And, occasionally in Mortified, we don't just do diaries on stage, but we'll do, like, a play that somebody wrote as a teenager. And then we get actual actors, sometimes name actors, to, like, come on stage and deliver it. And the one note that I always give the actors is say, please treat this play that was written by, a 15-year-old in 1978 or 1986 or whatever. Treat this play like it's genius and that you have no idea it's terrible. And that will make it funny.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
But if you think there's another way to go, think of Dumb and Dumber. Now, Dumb and Dumber, they travel a whole different line, because they don't try to act funny. They don't try to be dry like in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
They're nuts, and they go through that middle place of conviction and yet having fun with that conviction. But, there's so many scenes in that movie where they're brilliant.
Yeah.
And, Jeff Daniels is brilliant. I mean, if you saw Godless on, a Western, he was the most vicious character, and yet look at him in Dumb and Dumber.
And Newsroom, which they filmed here at
And
Sunset Gower.
Newsroom, yes,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
Literally watching Newsroom and then watching Dumb and Dumber, he was like, but him as an actor, you wonder, like, number one, why did your agent let you take this role? Why did you take this role? And he probably had the most fun he's ever had, for that decade in his career.
Yeah, I would imagine so. He's a consummate actor. I've seen him on stage in Carnage and on Broadway, and he is just, he's really in Newsroom. You kind of, I vote for the TV Academy, and when they send you everything, you will look at everything for best performance in a limited series. But you know that, and I looked at it, everything. I watched all 5 or 6 monologues from the lead actors, male actors, and came right back to,
Of course, it's Jeff.
Yeah, it had to be, because he's brilliant.
Yeah.
And it helps that he's like every man. He's not like the big hunk. He's just a guy on the street with this important story that he tells with all of his characters and this energy he brings. Like, I want to hang out with him. Like, I want to go out for pizza. I want to talk about the world. I want to read his childhood stories. Kurt, last thing before we kick things off, is diversity doing better in Hollywood? And, it's such a hot button. And, of course, I'm Latino. I'm from the LGBT community, but I get tired of talking about diversity in Hollywood. I really, really do, because I think we're going the other direction. We're talking about so much that people that are kind of on the fence of, understanding where we're coming from, they're like, oh, God, enough.
Right.
It's on every magazine cover. It's on every blog. It's on every acceptance speech, which is important. I get that. I don't want hate email.
Right.
But you literally are in it in a certain way. And we talked about this, about the roles that you're going out for. You are a differently situated actor with your metal apparatus.
I'm not PC, so you can say anything you want.
Okay, all right. But what is your take on diversity in Hollywood? And Martin, you can talk about this as well, coming from the 80s and the 90s, where, the kind of Crease character that's what we were given in terms of Hollywood.
I mean, as it relates specifically to disabilities, 20% of the population has some form of disability in America. That's 57 million Americans. On television, 2% of all words spoken are from a character that has a disability, and 95% of those characters are played by an able-bodied person. So you're talking about, let's say there's casting offices right now that aren't ADA compliant. So
I did not know that.
Yeah. Okay.
Physically, they couldn't get there to audition.
They couldn't even go to an audition, whether or not.
I never think
whether or
about
not.
that.
Okay, think about it this way: if you have a deaf actor, right now they don't have sign language or any kind of, interpretive something, so someone who's deaf could read for a non-deaf role where it is an irrelevancy. That's in every single office.
It's funny, in A Quiet Place that Emily Blunt did with Krasinski, they insisted that the
and
actress
everybody
be deaf.
fought them. And
Right.
he's like, I'm not doing the movie then. And they're like, fine.
And then it's a big hit, and now they're doing a sequel. And blah, blah, blah.
Let's have deaf people. And you're like, what the?
And Marlee Matlin is somewhere going, mm-hmm.
So I'm a big
Did it first.
advocate. I'm a big advocate for opportunity, not outcome. So I don't care what the outcome is. I want an equal level playing field for the audition, which is the application of getting work.
See, I love that.
That's not happening.
Because the best actor should get the role. But
no
I
matter
love what
what
you're saying. It's promote the audition process and...
Yeah, and make sure that the access point, everyone's seen, people are considered, so on and so forth. What happens afterwards is what it is.
But star power really does play a part. If Daniel Day-Lewis was not the lead in My Left Foot, you know what I mean?
Sure.
The movie, 4 people would have seen it and it wouldn't have done anything. Star power does, and like I said, I'm from the LGBT community. I have a number of trans actors, and I have a number of friends who are gay that are actors, but then they make Dallas Cowboy with Jared Leto and Matthew McConaughey. The movie's being seen by more mainstream people because there's star power. So how do we deal with that?
Well, I mean, that's always going to be the case, but at the same time, when a person with a disability isn't allowed to audition for roles, and audition skill sets is not acting, like they're separate skill sets, and so if you don't have the courage and the confidence to walk in a room because you've done it a bunch of times, then you're going to go ahead and get your one shot being a deaf actor going up against able-bodied actors and lose because you just have nerves and you haven't gotten used to it. And we're not even talking about cutting your teeth in commercials. They don't get seen, people with disabilities don't get seen for commercials either. So you're talking about never even having the opportunity to get a co-star or a guest star. That's not, so you can never become, a name. It's not even going to happen unless, but for instance, Harold, he won for Best Years of Our Lives, double arm amputee. Harold.
Yeah, and this was back in black and
In
white.
1954.
I did one of the scenes for film school at Chapman University. That's so funny. Yeah,
I'm blanking on his last name, but so
he got a nomination for it.
he got even more so. This
Back up,
is
girl.
the craziest story. So he was up for an Oscar, and everyone was like, he's not gonna win. I mean, he was great, but he's not gonna win. So they decided to make him an honorary Oscar as well and give him one for performance, with a disability and everything else. And then he won also the regular category for Best Supporting. And he's the only person that
And he had to have somebody carry home those 2 awards.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's how you do
And
it.
he was the first person ever to win 2 awards for the same role in the same category, and I believe he's the only one. So it's insane. And he was like, "Well, I won." And then you know what he did after that? Nothing.
Yeah.
Not because he didn't want to, because everyone said no thanks. I mean, okay, I'm blanking on her name. She was in Family Ties and in Deadwood.
Meredith Baxter?
No.
Justine Bateman.
She has cerebral palsy, I believe, or MS.
Are you thinking of the woman from Facts of Life?
Yes, Facts of Life. Sorry.
Oh.
The comedian.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't remember her name.
Yeah.
Jerry
Jewell.
Jerry Jewell. And she wrote a book about it.
Yeah, and so she's done so much work, right? You would think she's been Facts of Life, Deadwood, she's all these things. She said she's had like 30 auditions in 30 years.
Yeah.
Because they just want to see her. So if you apply that against what's happening, I think it's starting to turn. I mean, Mike Page, for instance, casting at TNT, TBS, he just had, he pushed to get some roles in for a new project, and I saw a bunch of people's names on the list, and that was this week. So I was like, okay, there's some diversity clients here. Good. That's starting to happen, starting to change. So there's some good stuff happening, but it's still pretty far. But it takes time to change too.
Well, and didn't you get some good news today from ABC?
CBS.
CBS.
Yes.
Okay.
Go.
Are you allowed to talk about it?
I mean, I guess so.
You have a new show.
Yes.
Called Tell Me a Story.
Yes.
Tell me a story.
Tell me a story. Yes. CBS. It's like a psychological thriller, a retelling of like Three Little Pigs and children's stories as it relates to today's modern stuff
that's
in New
interesting.
York. So it's really
It's like Once Upon a Time.
Yes.
For adults.
Yes.
I love it.
And I don't know much about it. Like I've read one of the scripts and that's it. Like I haven't seen anything else.
You just
So
cast it in,
Is it anthology?
I don't even know. I don't know much about it. I mean, that's how fresh it is. They just were like, this morning, they were like, hey, you got it. And I'm like, can I see some scripts? They're like, soon.
They're like, it's CBS.
Okay.
Just calm down. It's going to be fine.
CBS, send me the stuff.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely have to bring you back for that. Kurt, I'm so excited you're here to help me interview these gentlemen here
Yes.
today. Quick shout out to our sponsors, Test-Loop. Test-Loop is the only way to travel to Orange County, San Diego, Palm Springs, Las Vegas, in style from Los Angeles, testloop.com. It is more affordable than an Uber. You literally get your own little pod. You can talk to people. You cannot talk to people. You can be the only one in the car. And sometimes they just put it on autopilot and it drives you. You guys, it is so great. Check out testloop.com. They have 4 routes leaving per day. Also, 11 makeup for men. We love 11 makeup for men. We look natural. We look good. It's a little concealer. It's a little powder. Go to 11makeupformen.com. Get your kit today for red carpets. Just a little dab will do you. Am I right, Martin? Just a little dab will do you.
You're absolutely right, unquestionably.
Natural and glowing. We look gorgeous. All right, let's get the show on the road. Let me introduce our panel for today. David Nadelberg is the creator of Mortified, getmortified.com, an international storytelling project where adults share their embarrassing childhood diaries, letters, and art. Over the course of 15 years, Nadelberg's creations have grown from a single stage show to a project that encompasses TV, film, podcast, radio, books, speaking engagements, workshops, and live events worldwide in 5 languages. It's like a cult out there. It's amazing. His work has been covered by This American Life, The Today Show, Entertainment Weekly, Newsweek, Boston Globe, and beyond. He recently published an interactive diary, My Mortified Life, and produced a TV series, The Mortified Guide, on Netflix. I'm telling you, if you watch episode 1, you're just going to binge watch. You are hearing stories from people that you probably never would talk to in your life, and what we're going to talk about, there's like a core energy from all of these stories, and it shows you we all, without being sappy, we're all interacted. We all have the same insecurities, the same stories, the same love, blah, 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 blah. It is an empire that you have created. Please welcome Dave Nadelberg.
Thank you.
Also joining us tonight, Brooklyn boy Martin Kove is a film and television actor who has appeared in over 80 films, perhaps most recognized for his role as the psychopathic Cobra Kai sensei, John Kreese, in the Karate Kid film series. He is also known for his work in such films as Rambo, First Blood Part 2, Wyatt Earp with Kevin Costner, and on TV series, which I remember so well, Cagney and Lacey, and talk about an iconic show. Martin has also been part of many iconic TV shows, including Gunsmoke, The Incredible Hulk, Rockford Files, Murder, She Wrote, Chips, Barnaby Jones, Starsky and Hutch, Charlie's Angels, and recently Tosh 2.0, and most recently The Goldbergs, for such a fun interaction with my good friend Wendy McClendon Covey. Karate Kid fans wet their pants when the finale of YouTube Red's Cobra Kai premiered. The present-day sequel to the Karate Kid franchise, and all the originals are back, ended with none other than Sensei John Kreese making his entrance, who will be a major player for Season 2 of Cobra Kai. Yes, Sensei! Welcome to the show! All right, so opening topic, and we kind of broached on this on playing the bad guy. Playing the bad guy in the 80s, like machine guns blaring in Rambo and, Show No Mercy and Karate Kid, the whole theme of the macho man with today's social climate, anti-bullying, we're very sensitive to that now. How has that changed the roles that you've been offered, or the script writing that you've received? And Kurt, you can talk about this as well for your roles that you play. The idea of the strong man has kind of changed, just to be politically correct and to fit what films are doing now. And Dave, maybe you can talk about this in terms of the change of the masculinity energy of letters of that men have written as their younger selves. So, go.
On your market site, discuss.
Well, have you seen it change over the years, Martin? I mean, just from the masculinity perspective?
Well, certainly. I mean, we have to remember that in the 80s, those movies, and I did a lot of them after Karate Kid, Steel Justice, and God knows how many. I mean, good ones and bad ones. That was a fun time. That was, Arnold doing Commando and, and Terminator. I don't think we looked at the entertainment at that time as very serious. It was kind of fun, just a lot of fun. One Man Against the World. I remember Sly did it first, One Man Against the World and Rambo 2. And then all of a sudden, within 6 months, you had Commando, you had, Chuck Norris doing 5, missing in actions, and everybody was doing these things, and they were just fun, a lot of fun.
Don't discount Jim Kata. No fans? Okay.
Jim Kata?
I don't even know.
Karate and gymnastics combined.
That's not a real thing. You just made that up.
It's an amazing
Jim Kata?
It's an amazing 80s action film.
Thank you, Kurt. It sounds like a sandwich I would buy at Whole Foods. Did you eat the Jim Kata? Yes, I did.
Sorry, I'm just being a dick.
Is there a YouTube
but it really
thing?
it is a real movie. But
Oh, it's a movie.
yes.
Who's in it?
It's
John
like some
Travolta.
cheesy 80s action film that's
Jim
like
Kata.
better than Chuck Norris.
We
I'm
gotta
gonna
do
watch
a remake.
it. Yeah. Let's do the reboot.
All right.
But as I was saying, it's just, it's different. And now the writing on television and the writing, I mean, I come from Cagney and Lacey, so we were kind of spoiled 1982 to 88. It was really good writing ahead of its time. But now the writing is so much more meaningful on television. And because in the movies we see nothing but Marvel comic books. So all these producers and writers, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they've all migrated to television in the last 10 years. And we're getting, House of Cards, we're getting, Newsroom, we're getting terrific writing. And that's the big change. So people can really adhere to the writing now as a specific thing that's going on in life. And can they identify with it? No one identified with, who's the Sly or John Steele,
No, but here's the thing I wanted to say is that in a way you guys were also inspiration for the nerdy kid. And I know this is a big theme in Cobra Kai, is taking the nerdy kids and giving them something. It's like, we're not going to go all be the muscle man, but it's that be strong and whatever, which kind of took a sour note in terms of when you relate it to bullying, but being the strong guy. And, that's not a bad icon to have in a way. It's only when it gets dangerous or it doesn't let other people in, but I'm sure many kids were watching you guys and I want to be a tough guy too. Not tough in the means of you couldn't have feminine qualities, but Stick up for yourself.
But Karate Kid is not an example of, is not similar to Missing in Action or Rambo. Karate Kid, the star of Karate Kid really was Robert Kamen, who wrote Sweep the Leg and Wax On, Wax Off and No Mercy, and was still saying these lines 34 years later, with or without a television series. So he is really the star, and I believe that everybody that has come away with watching that movie 34 years ago, who's recommending it to their children now to watch Cobra Kai, that writing was brilliant.
Yes.
Wax on, wax off. I mean, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
And that's what you come away with. The action pictures, it's another world. It's just total popcorn and just escapism.
But it's still a following, and still people are watching them over and over and over.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Now, didn't you and Stallone have the same manager?
God, where did you get that information?
Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Years ago in New York, we had Kuno Spoonholtz, who was a clockmaker, who actually was a personal manager part-time. And he got
part-time Hollywood manager and a
we
clockmaker.
I think they all are still.
We were all starting out. When you're starting out, you don't have CAA on your ass.
Yeah.
So he would get sly jobs like a usher in the Baronet on 3rd Avenue, a movie theater, and would get me a job like Santa Claus in Abraham and Strauss, and that's the kind of gigs we got, back then, and then we both came out here pretty much at the same time.
Did you ever get any free clocks?
No, I don't think he ever repaired anything.
But Dave, the whole idea of masculinity, how are you seeing these reflected in the letters that people bring to you in terms of the climate? Has it changed where men are now able to share their more, I don't even know how to put this, but I don't want to say feminine because that has a different connotation.
Vulnerable?
Boom. That's why you are where you are.
Yeah. So, what's really interesting is, so I've kind of gotten good over the years at, like, if I meet somebody at a party and they ask me what I do, and then if they respond to it, they'll want to tell me something about when they were 14 or something. And I've started learning, like straight men, for instance, typically don't write diaries. There are straight men who do, but straight men, I've learned, like, I should ask them about letters, or there was a moment where they thought they were the next insert rock idol or hip hop idol here, and I've learned, like, even like breaking it down by racial things. Like, I've learned, like, black men, for instance, tons of black guys, like, drew comic books as a kid. Like, I had no idea about that.
I had no clue.
Yeah. And so, like, there's just, like, very interesting things by gender and all that stuff. And what always fascinates me is when I do get, like, occasionally we do get diaries. In fact, we have an episode of our podcast, one of our early episodes of the Mortified podcast is the diary of a football quarterback who went to Youngstown, Ohio. It's like a total football town. And he's the guy who you would think is beating up, he's in the Cobra Kai. Like, he's beating up the Daniel LaRussos, and like that's the stereotype of what this guy is. But when you hear the diary of a football player, you hear A, he's intelligent, B, he has neuroses, and he's kind of this beautiful weirdo deep down, and I'm sure outward, like, and he's got, like, a hulking deep voice and all these things, and yet and it's really kind of fun to hear, that I think we're just all the same weirdo underneath. And I always find that really interesting. And I also think, like, to pull off playing, a tough guy as Martin does, and at least to do it well and be successful with it, like, you've kind of got to be like a tough, like, the audience has to sort of, like, love, whether you're a tough guy who's, like, a bad guy or whether you're a tough guy, the audience has to kind of, like, root for you, or, like...
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Cobra Kai does so well. When we take Billy, who's grown up, we see why he was the way he was. We root for him. And, like, in the original Karate Kid, I mean, you were such an imposing figure. You were the cool guy. And to your point, it's like, yeah, we do root for you and your dojo as well.
Like, there's something really fun when you're being... Like, some people could not play a bad guy well.
I will tell you, and this is why I've never connected to Jean-Claude Van Damme films. He's not really being the part. He's not sitting in the part. He's not a likable, like, tough guy. and there's a humanity, and
Yeah, something like that.
yeah, okay.
I mean, how many times have you seen the most brilliant bad guy I've ever seen was, aside from Anthony Hopkins, Klaus Maria Brandauer. I mean, this is a German actor that is brilliant, and I don't know if you know who he is, but he really is smooth and silky. It's like Stefan Waltz. Stefan Waltz was in Inglourious Basterds, played,
Such a great film.
So, and he played that horrible Nazi, but was silk and smooth, and the words just fell off his tongue, but he was so vindictive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, bad guys, a lot of people think, especially actors, but most people, like bad guys, you play bad. No, bad guys don't think they're wrong.
And they have to be sexy.
Yeah,
they have
like
to be a little sexy.
Alan Rickman and Die Hard.
Yeah.
Like
Even Harry
they're
Potter.
totally
there's a little
justified.
sexiness.
Yeah.
I mean, right.
I'm not wrong. Everyone's been against me. God's against me. Well, fuck the world.
Yeah, of course.
All right, then. And then now you come at it from a different perspective, and you're like,
Yeah, that's what
it
you have
plays
to do.
through, yeah.
You have to justify. I think I did a movie called Price for Freedom, and Price for Freedom was a film about 1979 and all the people in Iran, and I was second in command to the Ayatollah Khomeini, and full beard, turban, and I said to myself, how am I going to identify with this Ayatollah Khomeini was his name, and he's a real guy who just, if you wore a red shirt, you were a Western sympathizer, and he'd kill you and your family. How could I possibly get into this, really? And what I did was what you just said. I created this personal story of, if I don't eliminate these Westerners from Iran, my family will be in danger. My family, they will kill my children, and I must protect my children. So I went into this space because this guy was just unbearable. He was the worst. Ayatollah Khomeini was a sweetheart compared to this guy, and he was a real character.
wow.
And all these, all these Iranians told me who were on the set that this guy. Anyway, bottom line was, you have to go to a place where you're really making it personal.
Yeah.
As a vindictive character, you've got to make it personal, and then it's up to the audience whether they like you or not.
Yeah.
We're talking about stories, and Dave, I want to ask you, why do you think Mortified has become such a fixture? We are so fascinated by other people's stories from their past. Where does that fascination come from, and where does your fascination with that come from?
with stories or with the past?
With past stories.
I think because we were all, like, I've never met anyone in this room, right, Martin? You've never met these guys, and yet we could probably, and we're of various generations, I think, and backgrounds, and yet I think there are commonalities that happen that aren't just cultural commonalities, but they're just things that genetically happen to us when we're 6, when we're 10, when we're 15, growth spurts, all these kinds of things that we all relate to, and we can all, and they gave us a lot of stress back in the day, and anxiety and all, and that really put a dent. Like whatever happened to you when you were a kid shaped you a heck of a lot more, even if it's a small little pebble of a dent in you, like really left a big mark on you more than sometimes what happened to you when you were 27 or 37 or so on. And I think because we can all relate to all of that, I think people are always interested in nostalgia and the past. That's why, there will always be on the air, every so often some sort of Wonder Years, Happy Days, Freaks and Geeks kind of and the Goldbergs,
Mm-hmm. And it's funny, like our stakes change as we get older. And one of the funniest, I think we're going to see it in the trailer we're going to watch, is one of the girls says, I can really sympathize with Anne Frank and her diary. I know what she was going through, or something like that. It's like, you're talking about Anne Frank and the diary, but she was talking about something from her youth. But remember when we were a kid and we had a final? The whole world was over, or we had a date that we couldn't go because mom took the car away. I mean, those were our stakes. Put that stake against my stakes today. It's like, girl, like it's just weird how that stakes are just so different, but no less important. At that time,
well, it's relative. I mean, the stakes are relative. If all you've experienced is, minutia, and all of a sudden you can't get the car to go on a date, that's everything because there wasn't much else. You didn't have to worry about the bills yet. Most of the time, or food or whatever. Most of the time, it's
We were worried about being the cool kid. Like that's what Cobra Kai deals so well with is being that cool kid, and what that really means.
I don't know if you're going to talk about this or not, but I just
You're a co-host, girl.
I just have you seen the theories about Daniel LaRusso being the actual villain? Have you? Because he does the kick's illegal.
Yeah,
that he does.
100% illegal. It will never be forever.
Yeah.
So you have to watch Cobra Kai because it deals with
it
this.
does
We
it? I
see
didn't know.
Billy's story, and it's like, Daniel LaRusso's a bitch.
Billy is brilliant, and he, that scene that you always see in the car shop.
Yeah.
Where he is dying because he says you're the guy. I kicked him in the face. Ralph says that. Billy's dying there. Because it was an illegal kick.
Yeah.
And it was an illegal kick. And of course, a couple of years ago, someone threw that out there in a video, and they're right. If it was illegal, there's no such thing as a crane kick. And I have always, in every autograph show or every time we have a panel, I said, I want everybody to know that this is the real Karate Kid. Because that guy with the dark hair at the end over there, it was an illegal kick. And everybody cracks up for 20 minutes, But that's true. It is an illegal kick.
And we get to see part of Billy's past in Cobra Kai, so we understand why he was the way he was. And I'm sorry, Kreese was a big part of making him kind of a jerk. I want to take a peek. Well, not a peek, and I'm not doing any spoilers here because the internet already went crazy. We all know. I want to show the finale of Cobra Kai, and I want to show.
Wait, I don't think I can stay. I haven't seen the series.
Too bad. No.
Do I have to leave? Have you seen it then?
No.
I haven't seen it, but
are you going to ruin
take
yourself?
off our headphones? I don't know.
No. It's awesome, you guys, and this is part of history. Go ahead and play. This is the finale of Cobra Kai. This is Billy all grown up. He looks pretty damn good, by the way.
You did what I always thought you could do.
It's so awesome.
Real orchestra, by the way.
Cobra Kai is back where it belongs. Back on top. Everyone closed the book on us. They thought we were done. But now they see. That the real story's only just begun.
Boom! Yes!
Wow.
Cobra Kai on YouTube Red. If you haven't seen it, just binge watch it. You guys have resurrected YouTube Red. I mean, you've made YouTube Red a thing.
That's so awesome.
Now, I know in approaching it, you kind of already in your own mind had an idea of how he was going to come back and what he was going to like with the cigar and everything. And it kind of mirrored what you actually did.
How'd you know that? You must have watched
I
every
do research.
interview.
I do research.
I had a dream, and it was that dream, except I was standing outside, and I was having a cigar.
In the strip mall.
And almost in a strip mall.
Yeah.
It was a storefront, very much like, I'm sure, subconsciously what the dojo looks like now. It's just big windows on Lancashire Boulevard. And both of them walked out of the storefront, which was the dojo, in my dream. And I said, hey, friends, good to see you. But which one of you is the hero? And that was, I said in my dream. And then I don't remember telling them that, but they did it almost exactly alike.
Whoa.
That's so meta.
Because I wanted to do more. We all want to do more as actors. I wanted to come in episode 6, episode 7.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
And they said, no, you're going to set up, season 2.
Can you tell us anything?
But you mean about season 2?
Of course.
Yes.
I really can't.
I mean, okay,
I
wait.
I just want to know,
Wait.
is he a good witch or is he a bad witch?
Wait, forget everybody else. Just,
I'm a mixed witch.
Just everyone.
I'm a mixed witch that comes on in a very humane way. I'll give you that. And I can't tell you everything, but
I mean, actor to actor. Forget everyone else is in the room.
Yeah.
Just you and I.
it's very rewarding. It's very rewarding, and because I sat with them at lunch, and their ideas are rewarding, and I wanted to. I was going to bring in all the research I did about Army Rangers and all this stuff what he was like, his backstory.
Because Kreese has this whole Vietnam story that's so important to the
and they're going to do that, hopefully in season 3. But they've got great ideas. I mean, these people, they're just, Josh Yield and Hayden Schlossberg and John Horowitz. These people lived
Wow.
the movie forever. And they had it all down so well that when you sat with them in September and they said, you're going to have to keep a secret and you can't tell anybody that you're in the show for 9 months until May 3rd.
Yeah.
And you're telling people you're dead. You're telling people you're in the KGB. You're telling people
Anything
you're
else,
in
yeah.
CIA. Or you fell in love with a girl in Chatsworth. You know.
Yeah.
The bottom line is nobody believed you, but you couldn't tell the truth.
Yeah, yeah. How did it feel to get that phone call? Like being like, hey, like, I mean, because you're like rebuilding something that like is a good thing from the past.
Yeah, you don't really know until you sit down and talk about it.
Yeah.
To me, I've learned one thing, that writing is everything. The writers, and in this sense, the YouTube Premium, now it's called YouTube Premium, if they didn't go out in 700 theaters with the movie the week before, and two of the first 2 episodes also tacked on to that movie theater.
Yep.
Now, they
Smart.
did that. That's brilliant.
Because it went viral. It wasn't just that session. It was what people were tweeting and messaging on Instagram, taking pictures on.
Yeah.
That's the first time I heard of Cobra Kai
Same
was
thing.
on social media.
Same thing. My friends
Yeah.
were like tweeting this and talking about it, and I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? This is being born again? And I'm like super excited.
And the fact that the story fits so well, it's such a direct sequel, and you guys look incredible, by the way. I'm just like, damn, God, you guys look good.
Thank you. Yeah. And you can't, you can binge it easy because it's so well structured. Everybody has an arc. The kids, the young kids didn't have an arc. Everybody who's got a problem, it's rectified. Billy is absolutely brilliant. Billy, he's just great, and Ralph is terrific. He's really strong as this character, and I mean, it's just one of those things that just kind of happens.
Yeah.
It just kind of like worked out, that chemistry. We've all been on projects that we thought were going to be great, and then all of a sudden went in the toilet. 1 out of 10 makes us feel like, well, I'm glad I got in this business. 1 out of 10 projects is rewarding emotionally to the actor, to the writer, to the how many to even poetry. When the guys write poetry, they only feel it probably 1 out of 10 times that they reach the pinnacle of their art. And cinema, thank God, it's
It's I always equate it to, for non-actors, non-entertainment people, to like gambling. Like, it's the thing you have to keep doing no matter how much you lose or how much it hurts. You have to do it for the win. Sure. And when you do it, you get it, and you go and you have it happen. You're like, okay, now I can deal with another 5 years of shit.
That's an interesting analogy, because an actor doesn't know when to leave a project as well. Like, if you're in this long-running, great, successful TV show, when do you leave? Sometimes it works. George Clooney. Sometimes it doesn't work. David Caruso. You just never know, or what movie to say yes to.
Yeah.
Martin, we got this email from somebody who's taking on a pretty big project, and they're talking about Steel Justice with Celia Ward, one of my favorite actresses, by the way. This was done after Karate Kid 2. It was your star vehicle. It was Steel Justice. They want to know, there was so much pressure on that film, and you being the star vehicle, how did you deal with that, and how did you deal with the aftermath once that movie hit?
Well, I was so hungry to try and do a leading man at that time, and coming out of Cagney and Lacey, and I think it was premature. I think now I wouldn't make the same mistake. So many times as actors, and so many times in my career, that you think you can fix a script that's an okay script, and you're arrogant enough to think your performance will fix it. I'll fix it because it's a great role.
Plus, you're given this lead.
But even if it's not a lead, many times it's a co-starring role, and the script is fair. It's not really good, but you feel like you love the part, and you really want to do it. And I can fix it. I'm Marty Cove. I can fix it. And I was arrogant enough to do that.
Hell, I believe it just you saying
Too many
it.
times.
I know. I feel like, where can I invest? Let me give you my EBT card. Go ahead.
But I'll tell you, all of them failed. You can't do that. You've got to have it on the page, and it's got to be there. And I've learned that from my arrogant self back in the 80s, when I thought that, I could go in and fix it.
Yeah.
And I suffered for a good 15 years of trying to fix stuff because I love Westerns. And so many
love Westerns.
I love Westerns.
Yeah.
And so many Western scripts are impossible to make because studios don't want to make them. And it's a genre that's been done from 1920 to 1967, one of every 3 pictures coming out of this town was a Western.
Wow.
That means
That's
33% of the movies produced of that genre, which is insane.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is, you got to really find a great one. And we've had probably 5 great ones in 25 years.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So you say, oh, I'll do anything in that way. I'm doing Quentin's movie, and it's brilliant because it can. We talk about it, but it's just in a sense a Western.
Yeah.
And we want that heritage to return because we grew up on it.
The Manson movie's a Western? Is that what you meant?
No, I can't really talk about that.
Oh, sorry.
He let
But
that
it's
slip,
okay.
by the way. 'cause,
Yeah.
It's
I'm
just,
not going to let it slip.
it's not really the Manson. I didn't think of it as
Oh,
the
okay.
Manson. It's rock and roll.
Speaking of celebrities and energy, Dave, during Mortified Sessions on Sundance, you sat down with a number of celebrities
did.
and their artifacts. It wasn't your typical interview, such as like I do. And I want to know how you do this with celebrities, number one. This is my own personal question because I have celebrities walk in every single time we do this show.
Thank you.
But also from hey girl, but also from people that have never been on stage, and I've seen some of the backstage videos, and they're like, I feel like throwing up, and I'm getting ready to do my piece, and
Yeah.
they're nervous of going on stage in front of people. How do you earn these people's trust where they literally show you their naked younger self?
You don't act like Simon Cowell. For real is a rule that we have, which isn't to knock him. It's just that's what he does is like this affrontive thing. And like we have this rule when we bring on producers in various cities, we say like you're there to let people feel safe sharing with you, and you're going to help them figure out what of their life is going to be compelling to a stranger because they don't know. They think they know, and you'll just sort of help them. So, but I find, I don't know. I'll open this up to you guys because I think it winds up. You start to see it when people start to spill. So, for instance, I don't know, Martin. Did you ever write anything as a kid?
Yeah.
You did?
I wrote, in the 5th grade, I wrote a play called The Wagon Train.
Oh my God!
And I loved it. And
Was it a Western?
It was a Western.
He was obsessed with
I
westerns.
lived.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I rode the chair, my mother's armchair, galloping through every Western I've ever seen, Bob Steele, whatever. But the bottom line is I wrote this. It wasn't very good, but I wrote it in the 5th grade. And I took it to the teacher, and she looked at me, and she you can't do this. Because I didn't know what I was doing. But
Wait. She actually, like...
she said, well... Yeah,
she shot that down.
That's
a
terrible.
5th grade kid.
Teachers shouldn't do that.
Oh my
Kind
God.
of terrible.
She gave me the lead in The Golden Goose, which is what we did.
I got
about a
another
week
project.
So was that your first acting gig?
Yeah,
It probably was a better script than the Golden
wait,
Goose.
wait,
and she
wait,
was
wait.
very
She's like, I
upset.
got another gig for you.
So here,
That's it. She said you had another gig for me, and I said, "Oh, okay."
but this was
Did I do the lead role?
this was your first acting gig. Wound up being the Golden Goose thing.
Yeah, it was the lead in the Golden
So
Goose.
the thing that you wound up pursuing your entire life came out of the alleged, I guess, failure and rejection of you attempting to write. And you just said a minute ago that your favorite thing about when you're a writer, when you're acting, you're like the thing I got to pay attention to most is the writing.
Yeah.
And that's that's an amazing connection. Like that's an amazing connection in your life. And I find that so often, like when you talk to people about their childhoods, if they wrote something, or even if you just like look at a prom photo, it's like teen angst tea leaves. Now I know you wrote that when you were like 5th grade, so it's not teen angst, but like it's you can look at people's childhood writings and they're fortune tellers to the rest of their life. And that I'd love to know more about that script, but like that clearly is a roadmap to your life because it put you on your path. It seems like it.
The wagon
I never
trail.
thought of it.
Yeah,
Never
that's-
thought of it.
You would never once considered that?
Well, the only I never thought it. It's interesting. Because I remember clearly submitting it and writing it on loose leaf paper, and
That's crazy.
sitting in Brooklyn and writing. My mother would say, "What are you writing?" And I just wrote. I don't even remember how long it was, but it was just a wagon train story because I had probably seen Wagon Train, God knows, in those days.
There would be no Karate Kid if not for the Wagon Train.
It's the butterfly effect. That one
Yeah.
thing led to everything. No, but that's
Wow.
Fascinating.
Dave, you are good.
very good.
I didn't do it. His
That
life
was
did it.
great.
That's my point. It's just about like observing. But wait, so can you tell us more about the wagon train?
Wagon Train was just
Do you still have it?
No, I think I was influenced by a variety of episodes.
Yeah.
But
He wants it, girl.
I don't have it.
You don't have it?
I'll make
Has your girlfriend, has Mary seen it?
Mary's seen it. Yeah, she put it down.
She said no too.
She said you can't fix
I mean,
it.
she's ridden the wagon
wait,
train.
it's-
you know?
She said even if Anthony Hopkins, right? She said even if Anthony Hopkins came on, it's not going to work.
What do you
Can't
remember?
fix it.
What do you remember of the plot?
I remember the plot. It was a wagon train and several different covered wagons and a wagon.
Wait, are there no people in
It
this?
was actually called. Now you realize
just
It's
wagons.
Pixar's wagon
it was
train.
called the Wagon Master.
The wagon.
Oh.
The wagon master.
That's what it was
Martin
called.
Toe.
Pitch this to Tarantino.
I saw a movie like this once.
Wait.
That's what it was called. It wasn't called the Wagon.
The Wagon
Master.
Master.
Wagon Master.
Wagon
And
Master.
what did he
starring
do?
Martin Cove.
He was the hero, and the Indians attacked, and he saved the people in the wagon train, and he fell in love with one of the girls. This is all shit coming back. Oh my
Wow.
And he fell in love with one of the girls, and God, this is the 5th grade, man.
Yeah.
You know what's going to come
Wait,
next? Is
no, wait,
Mortified
wait,
the
wait,
therapy
I wanna hear
sessions.
more.
So wait, so
What
you
do?
asked me earlier how you do this. It's
You just did it.
It's literally that. But wait, keep going because this is fast. I
Well,
mean, if you don't mind,
No,
I want to hear
please,
it.
please.
He saves the wagon train. It's a story we've all seen on television, but in the 5th grade, I remember that, he saved this one family, and he really loved the girl, and the girl and he got together at the end when they all was successfully. They lost 2 or 3 wagons, and they made it across. I don't remember where they ended up, but they made it across to the depot, wherever that was. That I don't know if they were taking the Oregon Trail or they were going across the Mississippi River down there, but they were attacked by Indians, and at the time there was terrible weather. And I remember there was
This is so
floods.
deep for a.
You remember a
Right.
lot.
Yeah, it's coming back. Mortified the therapy sessions. This is what's happening.
Wow.
You just did it. So you just
Oh
showed.
my God.
So you're a hero. You are the hero.
Excuse me, Martin. My name's on the
sorry.
the banner.
Sorry.
No, but here's what's neat. Here's what's neat, Alexander. Like when you ask people about like some childhood writing, specifically a song lyric, I think the first response often they're like, "There's a guy in the Mortified Guide on our series on Netflix. There's a guy who grew up in Puerto Rico and he wrote all these song lyrics. And when we first approached him about sharing these song lyrics, he goes, all I remember is like, I don't know, like 2 words, and they're in Spanish. I said, well, that's fine. We'll translate it or whatever. And he says the 2 words, but we say, can you sing it? And so when he does it, just by accessing that thing in his brain, he was suddenly able to get 5 words, and those 5 words turned into 8 words, which is like, it's this amazing thing that the human brain does. I didn't do that. Like Martin did it because like Martin went back to 5th grade Martin to little Marty or whatever. And like, it's
You can't call him Marty yet. You haven't earned it.
I haven't earned it.
Yes.
But,
No, he's my hero now.
oh, I have earned it. Wait.
Oh man.
All right,
He
Mr.
just
Cohen.
wrote that
I am
Marty
s-
one
I am
time.
so
I said
afraid-
Marty like 9 times,
I am
and now he earns it.
I am
Oh,
so
shit.
terrified every time he
This
touches
Did
horse-
you brush his hair, Martin?
I am so terrified that every time he touches my shoulder, he's going to hurt me.
No, you're his favorite, apparently.
No.
So this is how you do it. And I'll tell you the way that I do it. Like, we had Tippi Hedren here, and it's like, Tippi Hedren, Alfred Hitchcock, whatever. And this is why I do so much research, because you mentioned one little thing to show that you respect them so much that you did this research, and it's that turn, and it's that turn, like what you just did. Like, you asked him not about Martin Cove, the star. You asked him about his 5th grade self.
How badly do you want to put on a production of The Wagon Master?
Oh
guys?
my
What part would I play? I'd be the fat Indian on the side.
I want to be the guy who gets his legs blown off.
No,
Done, Martin. You have it right now. YouTube Red, are you listening?
I know. I think Alexander. I think you're the guy with the elixir going from wagon train.
That is so. I would love to play that.
from wagon.
Ladies and
It's a
gentlemen,
girl hair on your head. See?
I've got this right here.
Oh my God, you guys, it's done.
It's done.
Yes,
I've got
it's
tonics.
done.
I've got Mannix. I've got.
Do you remember the character names?
Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna take a look at the trailer for Mortified and just show you a little glimpse into the Mortified universe.
Nice.
Yes.
No matter who we were as kids, whether we were the bully or the captain of the football team or the nerd, we all went through the same pains and struggles.
If you've got something that you feel like you would kill yourself if people found out, there's no way you can hold on to that.
people were a little bit shocked, like, you're gonna read your diary out loud? Why would you want to do that? But the people that don't want to do it love hearing other people do it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mortified.
Dear Diary.
Is it true that girls don't have orgasms the first time?
I just put down my Anne Frank diary. I can really relate to her struggle.
She said, a lot of what I wrote is about the two of you. And we said, what could you possibly have said that would be bad?
Dear Diary, Mom is a dork, a moron, and a geek. I hate her so much. Dad is a bitch and butt crust.
Butt crust? I mean, I don't know what that...
That was her imagination.
That was not one that you got for me, I'll tell you that.
Just be yourself, be real, look out into the audience.
Every person has something in a shoebox in their closet that is embarrassing and raw from their childhood.
There's his nipple, I'm looking right at it. That is making love right there.
We had a show a few hours ago. After tonight's DC event, I'm officially digging out my angsty high school diary to share the shame.
We started opening chapters in New York, in Austin, and even Sweden.
Bara för att de håller på vänster.
To this day, we really have no idea what they're saying.
That relationship between the performer and the audience is the heart of Mortified.
How are you feeling? Totally nervous.
I'm gonna go throw up again.
To take what was once your shame and own it and laugh at it, it's essentially the very nature of what Mortified is about.
So
it's really like a rotor-rooter for the soul. You know? Rotor-rooter is what you stick down your drain when it's wrong. Yeah.
that is Mortified Nation. Dave, I have to commend you. You know, I build a brand with On the Rocks, and everything's on the rocks, and I'm always this. Your brand has literally dominated every medium, from book to podcast to Sundance to Netflix to podcast now. So I listened to your podcast, and I was like, okay, I thought it was going to be a podcast like this, where it's freeform. Your podcast is like a movie. Every podcast is so well edited, so well thought out. When do you have time to do all this?
Well, I will give credit where credit is due, because
you do have a team.
There is absolutely a team, and your mom just sneezed in the most adorable way.
Oh, because she's like, I'm your team too.
Yeah, you have a team too.
Bless you.
It's like a Pikachu.
This is my mama Rose, by the way, and people are like, "Oh, your mom's here. How cute." No, my mom tells me, "Work harder. Do this. Do that." Okay, mom.
But there's a team. Hadley Dion, who produces and edits everything, and Neil Ketcher, who you saw a little bit in the trailer for those of you who are watching. But Neil is the showrunner and real architect of the podcast, and puts together everything. And then I tend to sort of, I guess, do like special project interviews or various other things, and occasionally writing various stuff. And like literally just got out of, we're like working on 2 episodes and trying to wrap 2 of them by like tomorrow. And then got into an Uber and got here.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, I was super excited. I was like, "There's free alcohol and talking."
How did you come up with it originally? I mean, what was it like? An idea that you and guys had?
So
and you're like,
when I was in 5th grade, I wrote this thing, a Western called The Wagon Master.
Yes. Did your teacher like it?
Oh, yeah, my teacher gave it to me and said, "No one has ever written this. Say that it's yours."
Martin. P.S. Martin, we cast Lou Diamond Phillips in The Wagon Master. By the way, he's the lead of the Indians. Yes.
Yeah. So no, I wrote a love letter to. I grew up in Michigan, and I wrote a love letter when I was in high school there. To one of my classmates, and never gave her that love letter. And then years later in my 20s, I'd actually sold, I was kind of working as a TV writer or aspiring TV writer, and I'd sold some shows, and then they all went kerplop. And I thought, oh, I'm a failure. I'm like, this is, and in the ashes of that seeming failure, I was like, you know, I have that love letter that I recently found. What if I just put that on stage and rent a theater for a night? It's only a couple $100, and if I break even, great. And that turned into 15 years of my life.
That's crazy.
Which is around the age that I was when I wrote that love letter to that girl. Like, I probably wrote it when I was 16. And Yeah, and here's the crazy thing. She has, I mean, as far as I know, has no idea.
Still.
Like, I don't know her.
Is she on Facebook?
What's
Kurt,
her name?
Give her
What's
a call.
Her yeah, what's her name?
Dave, she's actually here right now.
Oh,
no.
my. Hey, it's your mom.
Pull her out.
Wait a minute.
Oh, my God.
I'm your dad.
What's her name?
Hey, girl.
I'll search it right
this
now.
This is your life.
This is your life.
But yeah, this person. So we thought about doing an episode of the podcast where we basically finally deliver this love letter to this person and say, listen, because of you, not only have you changed my life inadvertently, and I hope that doesn't creep you out, stranger, but also, like, people have met because of Mortified, and people have fallen in love and gotten married, and babies have been born, and people have come out of the closet. I've even heard stories of people going back in the closet. Like, it's just like had a weird impact on
your
people.
audience is, I mean, even if you watch some of the show, like the live shows, you look at the audience faces. It's unbelievable what these stories do for other people, and that's what I love about this show. How different are the four of us right now? We couldn't be more different, but we're sharing stories and we're interacting. Like, we're the Cool Kids Club right now. Thank you so much for what you do.
Absolutely.
Not to be schmaltzy, but like, yeah.
Oh, well, thanks.
Brilliant.
Thanks to the Wagon Master.
I have a very deep question for you when I come back to you.
Sure.
So I'm going to let you percolate on it because it's a big. I got this a few different ways. You know, we have a large LGBT audience.
Yep.
In terms of like baking a gay cake or not baking a gay cake, if somebody were to come with you with mortified stories of racism or propaganda that they promote, what would you do in terms of it's their youth story too?
Okay.
So think about that. Martin, people want to know your audition for the Karate Kid. What was it like? Because I know you got into being a black belt after Karate Kid kind of came to you, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So what was the audition like for Karate Kid?
Well, the audition was I was given the script on a Monday by a casting woman, Carol Jones. She said I have all week to prepare, and I was on hiatus from Cagney and Lacey. So to me, I read this. It just looked like another heavy. It didn't have that much dimension. And then she called me the following morning and said, John Avildsen wants to see you on the set today at noon, and it was 9 o'clock. And I said, you said I have all week with this. And she says, well, it's now or never. I'll never forget that on the phone. It's now or never. So at the time, my ex-wife, Vivian, said, I was feeling venomous and angry. She said, use all that venom. Do these lines. Mercy is for the weak.
Yeah.
Here and on the streets. Go through it. And just, you feel that venom. And then so I went in to see John Avildsen and the casting person. And then to get myself pumped to that place, I said, John, we wait for years to meet directors of your quality. And we fire our agents, we fire our managers, and you didn't give me any time to prepare this. You're a real asshole. And so are you, Caro Jones. Mercy is for the weak. Went right into it. Created that venom, that anger, and he loved it.
That's a gamble, too. Talk about gamble.
Yeah. You can't do it today. I've done it today and failed.
It's like, no, you won't be on Will and Grace this season.
That
Sorry.
was too sensitive for me, though. That was too sensitive.
I did it, but I did it to Jerry Weintraub as well, because Jerry was 4 days late, and I used that and screaming and yelling at him, and then calling him an asshole and going right into the speech, and he loved it. Stopped me halfway through it. I couldn't do it to Guy McElwain, who was head of the studio, because it just didn't seem appropriate. Ultimately, I got the part that way. And
wow.
But today you try to do that, or you pull a gun. I pull the gun once in an audition, a prop gun. But because they said to me I wasn't, I really wasn't unpredictable enough. So I went back and got a second reading, and I wanted a specific role, and I pulled the gun and just, held it under the nose of the producer, and he was my biggest fan. I walked out, and I turned at the door, and I said, gentlemen, I hope we can do business. 10 minutes later, I got the role I wanted. But you can't do that now, because now they'll arrest you, Then I think
it's like bringing props in. I was not that we're on the same level, but like in terms of I judge musical theater stuff, and this guy saying "Luck be a lady," and then he threw the dice, and then the dice bounced off and hit the judges in the eyes. Fired. Because you have to have the energy behind it, which obviously you had.
Thank you. It's interesting. So many things you try when you're younger, and you're winging it and you're full of energy. And as you get a little more seasoned, you say, God, if I met an actor like that and he was waving a gun around and all that, I'm not quite sure. You know, you can run around with Peckinpah and Sam Fuller on the floor and shoot at each other like we did when I auditioned for these guys for their Westerns. But they were crazy.
Yeah.
These guys, you can't do it to regular, normal filmmakers. They just
I totally agree. Like, seriously, one of my first auditions, really small thing, like they actually brought like 3 of us in at a time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, here, just read it. Like, and they were just like, they didn't care what you did. They just go, give me tough. And like the first guy's like, fuck you, man. You know, and the second guy's like, I'll beat you up. And I was like, fuck you and fuck these 2 assholes. This is stupid for making me do it. And they're like, looking at me like, are you crazy? And I'm like, no, I'm acting. Like, and they realize, oh shit, he's actually telling everyone off. So, and I booked it. And it was like, it was that kind of a thing where you're like, what? This isn't tough. Like, tough. No tough guy is like, you know, like a tough guy doesn't say anything.
Well, like if you were to walk in the way that you walked in, and I was casting a tough guy, I'd be like, God, too soft, too not mean. I see you on screen.
You
stop. But you're like the meanest person on screen. And in terms of Karate Kid, nobody knew it was going to be this phenomenon. Pat Morita in a documentary is coming out about him. In fact, I think you did an interview for that. Pat Morita was a comedian. They didn't want him. It was coming down time to film. And the casting director was like, okay, well, let's have him screen test. But they said no to him from day one. And Pat Morita was at the lowest part of his career. He was doing comedy routines for political party stuff. There was nowhere he could go. And he got the part. And
he got the part because John wanted him from the beginning. And Jerry called him the hip nip. He knew his career in Happy Days. Sheesh. And he just said, you know, he didn't want him.
Wow.
And then John made a little video and showed it to Jerry, and Jerry said, okay. That guy was that impressive. And he was wonderful.
And talking about bottom of his line, Pat Morita was back on the plane back to Hawaii where he was living, and he was like, there's nothing to come back to. I failed this, whatever. Yeah. And they called him and they said, you got the part.
Wow.
And everything. Like, you guys didn't know it was going to be this.
No one thought. We didn't even like the title. We talk about that at panels all the time. The Karate Kid sounded like a Bruce Lee movie. I mean, we didn't like the title. And, you know, all of that celebration of, you know, we kind of, I always say what constitutes a classic, you know? Years ago, we had Casablanca. Years The Searchers. We had, you know, in lately, Raiders of the Lost Ark and Titanic. You know, but what truly constitutes a classic like Karate Kid? You know, Rambo is somewhat of a classic. It was the first one of One Man Against the World, you know, and probably Avatar will be eventually, you know. But to me, what constitutes a classic in cinema is when the entire family can go to see a movie 3 times and of all ages and enjoy it. And the value of Cobra Kai is that you all can sit around and watch that TV show of all ages, kids of all ages in the household. And it's like watching Ed Sullivan. Everybody will find something that attracts them to that show.
Right.
And we haven't had a show like that in a long time.
Long time.
Things are too dark, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I will say, just like with comedy, you can't play at comedy. You can't go out to make a classic, and it just happens. Martin, we're going to take a little peek at your original Karate Kid moments, just to get a little comparison. And Dave, when we come back, we're going to ask you the answer to that question.
Sure.
Time out. Go to your sensei. Turn, kneel.
Sweep the leg. You have a problem with that?
No, sensei.
No mercy.
This is going to be so much fun. I hear the sensei's a really good guy.
Love exists in this dojo, doesn't it?
Yes, master.
You're so fun and playful in this. Look how fun, like,
doesn't it? Yes, master. Everyone is a special winner in this dojo, aren't they?
Yes.
This is where I got the emails like, has Martin softened?
First, hug
hug hard, show mercy.
Hey, you're the best
Show
around.
mercy.
Nothing's gonna ever keep you down.
That's a great.
Okay,
that's a song. That's a
So,
song.
That's
Nothing's
the
ever
comedy.
gonna keep you down. You're the best around. Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
But that's the comedy, and that's like you having fun with your role. And we
Yeah.
got to see the whole dichotomy there. Martin, it's such a pleasure to get to interview and have you here.
Thank you. It's really fun. I mean, get this passionate about cinema. Usually you just sit around and have cigars and watch The Wild Bunch, and then you get passionate. But this is, you do a good job here. It's really gets me cooking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought, he could call you Marty. But,
No, he's the wagon master.
Oh. So, Dave, back to the question. Gay cake. Why would you limit somebody that has a message that we might not agree with if it's actually part of their past?
It's interesting. So basically, occasionally, everything that gets submitted to our show is inappropriate. That's why it's mortifying. Occasionally, we do get things that are sexist, homophobic, deal with race. I don't know if they're like necessarily fully racist, but they certainly walk into the gray areas where we're like, and I have noticed that over the years, the audience's appetite for that has become stricter and stricter. And I think, and I think part of that is healthy and good, and part of that is not healthy. And so it's been very interesting to sort of kind of deal with that. But like, for instance, there's an episode we badly want to do of the Mortified podcast where, like for instance, there's this woman who wrote, when she was in the 90s, she was in high school, she wrote diaries about her obsession with a Kennedy son who came to light. If maybe you guys remember this, but there was a Kennedy nephew who was accused of rape. And it became a very big trial in the way that the OJ trial was.
I remember it very well.
And there was lots of women in the country who became obsessed with this guy, rich, good looking, and you as well. You were obsessed with him?
He was cute.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He was a hottie. So, and yet he's accused of, I don't remember if he actually was convicted or anything like that, but so there's this really messed up thing where she's writing these diary entries about like this guy who's accused of a terrible atrocity. That's the only reason she knows about it. And she's also saying that the women who are accusing him are just looking for fame and they're whores and all the things that are now playing out now with all the Me Too stuff. Yeah. And we see it as sort of an opportunity to sort of deal with that. Not that our show is inherently political, unless you consider empathy political, which it could be. It can
Love
be.
that statement.
But so we want to deal with it, but we haven't figured out the right context. And so I think you can deal with anything, if the person is embarrassed by it. This is how I used to be, and I was, we'll definitely have like some, some things where like teenagers throw out words that are homophobic or whatever. But they immediately can brace it with like a shrug or a laugh, or if they're gay today.
And that was the climate of the time,
Yeah, and that was the climate of the time. And like gay was like, like, oh, he's so gay, right? And so that was this thing that we just don't say anymore as a pejorative term. But yeah, and today we can kind of laugh at that because we're laughing at the use of that word. I think there are certain things that you just lines you can't cross. Race is really one of those. So for us, it's all about context, and if we can find the context to make something work, we will do it. Like there was recently an episode dealing with a Latino guy who drew all these like very messed up. He's gay and Latino and first generation, and he came here and he was doing drugs and all these like he got into like a hard time, but he was drawing all these very dark, scary cartoons and that were like sexist or something. And we spent a lot of time arguing and figuring out behind the scenes like what should we share of these cartoons or not. And so it's all about context.
Interesting.
We have had such a great conversation. I cannot believe it's almost over. So we finished the show rapid fire, and I mean rapid fire. You have to answer super, super, super fast, and then give our viewers and listeners where they can find you. Because my heart is still beating from what you just said, by the way.
Oh.
Who wants to go first?
Martin.
Silence. Martin. Look at Martin wants to go first.
I'll go
Rapid fire.
I'm leading the wagon train now, so what is it you need?
Wagon master.
He's the wagon
I'm
master.
leading
All right, you're the wagon master.
You just remembered it. Now you can't forget it again.
Answers the questions.
I'm
The
gonna write it
Wagon
when I
Master,
go home.
starring Martin Cove and Lou
Answers
Diamond Phillips.
The questions now.
Okay, so this is as rapid as you can do. Worst audition.
Broadway show. You want the whole?
That's no, because you give the answer, but now I'm interested. It was a Broadway show.
No, it was worse than that. It was a Broadway show, which I don't even remember the name. But when I went up, there was a musical audition, and I went up on 8th Avenue, and the director was there, and the other pianist was there, and I did "Surrey with the Fringe on Top" from Oklahoma.
Gordon McRae, yeah. There's a bright
Ducks
golden
and geese.
haze on the meadow.
Do you know what the reaction was? The director turned to me and said, "Can you do Happy Birthday?"
Oh, because they wanted to, this is why they asked you that, to see if you could figure out the difference of the notes. You must have been tone deaf.
Tone deaf? It was so bad.
Martin, can you quickly, before Kurt cuts us off, can you do There's a bright
golden haze on the meadow.
You
No,
have the-
let me do "Sorry
No,
with the
but
Fringe
you-
on Top." I can do "Sorry." When I take you out tonight with me, honey, here's the way it's going to be. You will sit behind a team of snow-white horses in the slickest gig. What is this, Phantom back here?
This is how we do. Okay.
Okay.
I might ask you to sing
like
Happy
that.
Birthday. Okay.
Yeah, sing me Happy Birthday. It's good.
Martin, worst piece of advice you would, what piece of advice would you give yourself at age 18?
If she doesn't love you, then forget her and move on.
Great. Dream co-star that you would love to act with now who has passed?
Yes.
Rapid fire, girl.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Describe the person.
Yeah, Lion in Winter.
Lion in the
Catherine
Winter.
Hepburn.
Catherine
Hepburn, yeah.
Hepburn.
The calories are in bloom again.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen.
It's terrible.
This is why we should get married. One role you wish you could go back and redo?
Steel Justice.
Very interesting. It
Oh,
has
we gotta
huge
do a
audience,
remake of
though.
Steel Justice.
Yes. Type of film role you want to play so badly, but you just haven't.
Rhett Butler.
Oh, yeah. Martin,
Frankly, my
where
dear.
can our viewers and listeners find you?
You can find me at martincoveonline.com.
It's very easy. Your website is so great. It's Cove. It's Kove. All right, who's next?
I'll go.
Go.
David.
Yes.
One of the biggest mortified stories, artifacts that has stood out over the 15 years.
It's actually, for me, it's probably one that is going to come out either this Sunday on the podcast or maybe in 2 weeks on the podcast, where it's a guy who made a home video to serenade the love of his life.
Did it work?
And weirdly, we were doing that in an audio medium.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. What would
It did not work.
What would you tell your 16-year-old self?
That one day the shit that you are writing is going to become fodder for a stage show that you're going to produce.
If you could have coffee with anyone who has passed, do you see the theme? Who would it be?
Other than my parents, Rod Serling. I would like to have met that guy.
Interesting. Your personal life is like, we don't find that much out about you in personal. What is your guilty pleasure?
I always think I'm an open book. My guilty pleasure, Jim Kata, the greatest, karate gymnastics film of the 80s.
This was from a fan in terms of like personal activity.
I gotta put this in. I gotta
put it in.
Yeah.
I gotta put it
Jim
in.
Kata.
Well, no, in terms of here's something I love doing. I hope this answers. I actually love going on YouTube.
Yeah.
And
YouTube Red, what, Cobra Kai?
No, just YouTube. Oh, okay, sure, YouTube Premium. But I like going on YouTube and looking up a song and then typing the word cover, and then I just.
Oh my God, Dave, we are best friends.
Let's do it.
I will look at 100. I have
Yeah.
to see how the song has been interpreted.
Yeah, I love seeing, and I like when
that's
it's bad. I like when
literally
it's
my
good.
weird thing.
I like when it's good. I like when it's bad.
Oh my
And I will
God,
watch
Dave.
I like watch like 45 minutes to an hour
Dave,
of the same song done by like some fat guy like in his basement and some like 14-year-old girl.
4 in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
When I got home at 11, I will do this because I'm just interested about. Oh my god, that's literally my thing.
Well,
I've never met anybody else that does it.
Wow.
Okay, I've done Doris Day covers where I watch. Oh god. Okay, your biggest pet peeve, because you're always so positive and nice. What is something that just sets you off?
I really hate when cars go into the walking lane while I'm walking into an intersection, and I'm like a big like walking, biking activist kind of person.
There's a limit line for a reason.
Yeah, there's a limit line, and I get real aggro. It's the one moment I get very masculine and like rage fueled.
You're the pedestrian I lightly tap to say, hurry up.
Yeah.
The limit line master.
That
Dave,
is my story.
Where can our listeners and viewers find you?
You can check out Mortified at getmortified.com, on Twitter at Mortified. But you can also find me at Dave Nadelberg, and I won't spell it, so you'll figure it out through Google.
And he's so nice and he's so accessible.
You're so nice and accessible.
Yeah, but like you have the empire and everything.
What is this? We're sitting in like do you know that we record our podcast like in like a closet? Like this is beautiful.
Come out of the closet, girl.
Yes.
Kurt,
I'm working on that.
So I never do rapid fire with co-hosts because we're co-hosting, but
So
all
not
of the
tonight.
fan emails, I thought we would just knock it out real fast.
Yes.
Type of role you want to play that you haven't yet.
Actually, I don't know.
Rapid fire.
I know it's supposed to be rapid fire. How about slow fire? No, it doesn't work.
Kurt's sweating.
No,
we have a network
character I'd like to play. I don't know. I like playing characters that have duality, so dark and good guy at the same time. Like it's just
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka, not as psychotic, more grounded.
You didn't answer that question at all. I got this from many people, especially from our last tryst at the Abbey. What is the gayest thing that you do? Is it moisturizer? Is it what is the gayest thing that you do? This made me laugh.
I think the gayest thing that I do is probably baths. I like baths. Is that gay? That's gay. Is it straight?
People don't even have time to take
do baths? It's not.
No.
I actually don't moisturize. I don't do anything. I don't know. Sing
what about
also?
Have sex with men?
Besides that.
Oh my God, we have Martin Cove here. Kurt, this is actually a deep one, and
Yes.
I've got this so many times. I'm like, we finally have to ask it. Would you go back and avoid getting in your accident?
The only way I'd avoid getting in my accident is if I could retain what I've learned since the accident. So then no.
That's pretty deep. What would the name of your biography be?
Don't start with acid.
Oh my Lord! All right, finally, and I think it's because of your girl fans are wanting to know if they're your type. Who is your celebrity crush?
My celebrity crush?
A-lister.
Charlene.
Charlene who?
Give me her last name.
Oh my God! Then we have to talk.
Why? She's gorgeous.
Anyway, so now you know your type. You guys,
I got so much shit for the rapid fire. You guys were like gloated upon, and I get
Charlize Theron.
What's wrong with her?
I know her personally. We're going to talk later. You guys, this has been such a culmination, and I love to end Pride Week. By the way, of this is like this is great. We all have stories, entertainment. Thank you guys.
We're all the same.
My pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Alex.
And we got to learn a little bit more about you. Kurt, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you, UBN. Thank
Mary,
you, iHeartRadio.
Thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
And Mary, girl, she's bringing the sexy. Yeah, it's like,
And your
hey,
mom,
girl.
too.
Yeah. Yes.
And your mom's sneeze.
She won't.
Your mom.
You guys, I love you. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
This has been On the Rocks with Alexander, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on Universal Broadcasting Network. Find me on Facebook on the Rocks Radio Show. Tweet me or Instagram me at On the Rocks On Air. See you next Tuesday.